In Ekiti State, the Electoral Commission has released the final list of candidates for June 2026 governorship election. Missing from that list are the People's Democratic Party and the SDP. Well, of course, for the PDP, leadership disputes and unresolved court cases have sidelined its candidate. That's Dr. Wole Oluyede, at least for now. Insists the judiciary will restore his candidacy. Well, joining me right now to discuss this is Ini Ememabong, National Publicity Secretary of the People's Democratic Party. It's great to have you. Thank you for your time. Let me get straight to it.
Glad to be here. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Now, the People's Democratic Party, for now has been removed from the, list ahead of Ekiti elections. What is the position of the PDP on this matter as of now?
Well, the position is simple, that the electoral body must be independent. By their independence, by their action, the perception must also come out to show their independence. And so the position of the party is simple, that they had monitored the primaries that led to the emergence of Dr. Oluyede, and they must follow suit with it. We are aware that a court process has begun to where INEC would be asked, if the court agrees with us, that the candidates be recognized, because INEC participated, saw the emergence. There's also another court case where someone who contested alongside Oluyede has gone to court, but we hear that that has also been appealed. Again, so, well, final is a word, but there's always something else of final. You know that when the courts have said that INEC should obey and include a name, they will do so. So there's no cause for alarm. We are taking all the legal steps, and we trust that we've spoken to the candidates. He's in high spirits. His supporters, his campaign team are in high spirits, and they are on course. So everywhere, everyone should remain calm. We are doing the best we can in the circumstance. It's a trial of democracy. It's one of the pains that come with standing up for what is right. And at this time, it's something that has to be done. This operation to remove the cancer had to be done, and blood needed to flow. And so, but at the end, the party is going to be okay. So we've spoken to the candidates, we've spoken to his campaign team, they're all in high spirits.
Okay, but looking at this and all of what is happening within your party in terms of internal crisis that is happening, how do you think this would even impact on other candidates? Because some that might want to contest on the platform of the People's Democratic Party might look at this and feel, what exactly is going on? What is your party doing to ensure that issues like this don't arise as we enter the election season?
That's why we're saying that we filed all our processes in the Court of Appeal, and we are hopeful that very soon that the court will hear, they will give a panel and would hear the matter and determine it one way or the other. And so what we are doing is to ensure that we have brought the position of the law to the matter. And today, luckily, we have a judgment where the Federal High Court, though a judgment of the Federal High Court, where the position of the law has been very well established, that matters of leadership, matters of Congress, matters of convention, all of those are matters that are non-justiciable, and the courts do not have the jurisdiction to pry into them. So we are doing everything humanly possible within the shortness of the period we have to ensure that as we go into the elections, we are hoping that before we get to Q2, all of this should have been over. As we go into the elections, that we can be sure that we have set aside all of this, and the party and their candidates are very well and ready for the elections. We do know that we must admit that things like this are clearly distractions. But I mean, the strength of a person is tested not in periods of convenience, but in periods of contradictions, in periods of inconvenience, and in periods of controversy. And this is our own period for that. But we need to stamp our feet on the ground to make sure that the candidates of the future do not suffer this. And how are we doing that? That is the process we are going through. That's why we had to hold that convention. That is why we had to expel people. That is why we had to bring back sanity and discipline to the party, so that people will know that we are a party that obeys rules and regulations. We have our laws. We have the constitution of the constitution of the country, and we also have the Electoral Act. And these three are the operational documents with which we work. So I can assure PDP members all over that very soon the pharaohs you see them no more.
All right, now still talking about court rulings, the Federal High Court in Abuja has dismissed a fresh suit by Senator Samuel Anyan, who, of course, sought official recognition as the PDP's national secretary. I mean, this development has continued to generate reaction, but I'd like your take on this, Mr. Ini. I mean, for how much of an impact would you say this, will have on the PDP and particularly everything that Nigerians are seeing happening within the party?
Well, the judgment states the correct position of the law, which reiterates the non-justiciability of political party matters, whether it's leadership, whether it is congresses, whether it is tenure, and all of that. And so that matter, which was filed, has even been said to be an abuse of court process because even after the Supreme Court had given judgment, it was filed alongside that appeal that the Supreme Court had given judgment. I don't know what the plaintiffs were still pursuing with, but I mean, it shows how they cut the judicialization of the entire election process. The judicialization of politics is something that should not be. Immediately you politicize the judiciary, you create an impression, and they begin to give disparate judgments. They begin to give judgments that stand logic on the head. So at that point, it draws the judiciary into the fray of politics, which is something we should avoid. So that judgment, the dismissal of that suit, has also stated that it was abuse of court process. It should never have been done in the first instance because all the reliefs that are sought are political in nature, and that's not what the courts are meant to do. We should allow our courts to adjudicate on things that can help to stimulate the economy. We have a lot of business cases that are hanging where transactions that have the capacity to stimulate our economy are suffering because political cases of this nature would always have to be heard in an expedited manner. So that judgment states the law as it is, and that is what we have been shouting about. That's what we've been saying, that the matters where my lords Motosho and Lifu gave judgments are issues that are non-justiciable, and that's the argument before the Court of Appeal. And we hope that when my lords, my noble lords in the Court of Appeal here, they would give a judgment that will again reiterate the position of the Supreme Court, which says that internal affairs of the party remain non-justiciable. It is not something that the courts have jurisdiction to hear. So that judgment is a huge relief. It states, at least it begins to show, it gives us hope that all hope isn't lost, that the entire judiciary, isn't gone the way of pressure.
All right, we'll go on a quick break. When we return, of course, I'll be taking your final remarks on issues, particularly in lieu of the 2027 election. Stay with us, we'll be right back. Many thanks for staying with us. It's still Politics HQ on News Central Television. I still have Ini Bong, as National Publicity Secretary of the People's Democratic Party. He joins from our Abuja studio live. Thank you for your time, and thank you for staying on the program. Now, before I let you go, I know that we've spoken on this a couple of times, and I know that your party did expel some members, but it will still take me to the question of the role, if at all, of the FCT minister in the, what I call it, happenings within the People's Democratic Party. As of now, what we know is that he is not a member of the APC, even though you claim to have expelled him from the PDP. I would like you to speak, if that still holds.
The decision of convention is final, as it were, and it will take another convention to be able to undo what convention had done. And so there are people who have become partyless. They're not going forward, they're not going backward. And they are there. But I mean, my position has always been that small minds discuss people, and the ideals of politics, the way the framers of politics did, is less about individual people. It's about the collective. And it's basically a game of numbers, majority over minority. But there's a provision within that conceptual framework that says that the majority will have their way while the minority will have their say. And so in this circumstance, the truth is that whether it is during the Damagun-led administration, it was a majority disposition. Whether it had to do with the convention, majority had their way. and minorities are there. So the people have been expelled, and they remain expelled. And you clearly see that, because immediately two cannot go together except they agree. Their desires and the desire of the majority people in the party are not in sync. Their desires and the manifestos of the party are not in sync. The aspirations and the aspirations of the constitution of the party, which says that we shall field candidates in all offices, are not in sync. And therefore, we cannot go together because we do not agree.
Maybe I should also chip this in. Let's look at what is going on in Rivers State. Right now, the PDP is an opposition because the governor has defected from your party to the APC. What is the position, of the PDP as regards what we are currently seeing in Rivers State, the political face-off between the current governor and the minister of the FCT?
The easiest description of the circumstances in Rivers State is the normalization of anomaly that has become the brand of this administration. How do you explain that an individual is able to go around local governments areas in the states undertaking a campaign, whereas INEC hasn't opened up campaigns, and the INEC chairman won't say anything about it because, clearly the perception doesn't allow them to do so. Now, how do you explain the fact that the drama in Rivers could have happened, and people have openly come to say, look, we are going to take this guy down whether he likes it or not, and you see the power dynamics in Rivers, and you hear that, the president had intervened to save a governor, and a minister is saying that the president had intervened to save a governor. And we clearly know who the puppeteers are, who the puppets are, and you can clearly identify these people, and nothing happens. So it is clearly the normalization of absurdity that has become the brand of this APC-led administration. Things like this don't happen. It is never within the contemplation of political analysis that things like this would happen, and will happen, and nothing will be said about it. So for us in the PDP, luckily it's an APC affair now, but the simple way to describe it in the simplest way is the normalization of absurdity.
All right. Thank you so much for your time. Iniememe Obong is National Publicity Secretary of the People's Democratic Party. It's been a pleasure having you. Thank you once again. All right.
Thank you very much, Taps.
Great.